Arthur Bell believed everything belonged somewhere. Keys belonged on hooks. Evidence belonged in numbered containers. Lost property belonged on the correct shelf, under the correct date, with paperwork explaining exactly how it arrived. For 16 years, Arthur had managed the Ashbury municipal property warehouse. He could locate a wedding ring surrendered in 2009 without checking the database. He remembered which shelf held 3 boxes of unclaimed cameras from the Hawthorne Plaza fire. He could tell when someone moved an item by half an inch. Order made sense to him. It meant nothing truly disappeared. It only waited to be found. Then there was the suitcase. It sat on shelf 43 beneath a fluorescent light that flickered every 11 seconds. Old leather, brass corners, 2 silver latches. No brand, no luggage tag, no inventory number. Arthur had passed it every morning for 6 years. He had never touched it. The handwritten card attached to the shelf contained only 4 words. Do not open. Hold indefinitely. Arthur hated that card, not because it frightened him, because it explained nothing. On Monday morning, a city auditor noticed it too. Her name was Iris Bennett. She wore a gray wool coat, carried 3 sharpened pencils, and had the unsettling habit of reading documents silently before greeting anyone in the room. She stood beneath shelf 43 with her clipboard. What's inside? Arthur continued counting sealed evidence bags. No one knows. Why? It's locked. Do you have the key? No. Who owns it? No record. Iris looked at him. You've stored an unidentified suitcase for how long? Arthur checked the faded card. 43 years. She lowered her clipboard. 43? It arrived in 1983. From where? No receiving form? Who approved indefinite storage? No signature. Iris stared at the suitcase. Arthur knew that look. It was the look people gave paperwork when they believed persistence could force it to become logical. She reached toward the handle. Arthur said, "Don't." Her hand stopped. Iris glanced at him. "You don't know what's inside." "No." "Then why shouldn't I touch it?" Arthur looked toward the warehouse office. Through the glass window, the security cameras showed every aisle. No one else was nearby. He lowered his voice. Because the last person who opened it disappeared. Iris almost smiled. Then she realized Arthur wasn't joking. Who? Martin Cole, inventory supervisor. When? 2015? What happened? He opened it during an audit. The following morning, his car was still outside. His coat was hanging in the office. The warehouse cameras showed him entering aisle 4. Arthur nodded toward the suitcase. They never showed him leaving. Was there an investigation? Yes, and? No evidence of a crime. Iris looked at shelf 43. The suitcase, locked again. She studied him. You're telling me it closed itself. I'm telling you nobody admitted closing it. Iris wrote something on her clipboard. Arthur frowned. What did you write? That you believe municipal property is causing disappearances. I said people disappeared after opening it. That distinction matters to you? Yes, it shouldn't. She turned toward the office. I want every record connected to this item. Arthur watched her walk away. The light above shelf 43 flickered. 11 seconds later, it flickered again. The suitcase had moved. Only slightly. Its handle had been lying flat. Now it stood upright. Arthur stared at it, then checked the aisle camera. On the monitor, the handle remained flat. He looked back through the office window. Upright. Monitor, flat. Arthur called Iris over. She compared the screen to the real shelf. That's a frozen frame. It isn't. Arthur waved his hand beneath the camera. On screen, his hand moved normally. Only the suitcase appeared unchanged. Iris walked closer to the monitor. What time did the handle move? I don't know. You were watching it. I was watching you? That isn't an answer. Arthur pulled the surveillance timeline backward. At 9:42, the handle lay flat. At 9:43, it still lay flat. At 9:44, flat. In the warehouse, it remained upright. Iris returned to shelf 43 and placed a pencil beside the suitcase. Don't touch it, Arthur said. I'm not touching it. She aligned the pencil with the shelf edge. We'll know if anything moves. By lunchtime, they had located the oldest surviving record. A yellowed property receipt dated November 3rd, 1983. Item, 1 leather suitcase. Recovered location, Bellwether Hotel. Room, 214. Arthur looked at Iris. That room again. You know it? Everybody in records knows it? The guest disappeared. Daniel Cross. Arthur glanced at her. "You've read the file?" "I've read every unresolved property transfer in Ashbury." The receipt carried a second stamp beneath the hotel name. "District B, transfer incomplete." Iris ran one finger over the paper. "I've seen this stamp before." "Where?" "Cases that officially don't exist." Arthur waited for her to explain. She didn't. He turned the receipt over. A handwritten note filled the back. "Do not inventory contents. Weight must be recorded daily." Arthur opened the warehouse database. No daily weights existed. But inside an old paper ledger, they found them. 1983, 23 kilograms. 1984, 11. 1986, 38. 1991, 6. 1998, 62. 2002, 0. The weight changed constantly. Sometimes by dozens of kilograms overnight. Arthur wheeled an industrial scale beneath shelf 43. He and Iris lifted the suitcase together. It felt almost empty. The scale settled at 18.4 kilograms. Iris recorded it. Arthur secured the aisle and placed a motion seal across both latches. At 2:13, the warehouse lights flickered. The scale display changed. 18.4. 21.7. 34.2. Then 0.0. The suitcase remained on the platform. Arthur pressed one hand against it. It was still there. The display rose again. 47.9. Iris stepped closer. "Something inside is moving." "No." "How can you know?" "The center of weight hasn't shifted." She looked at him. "You can tell that?" "I've moved enough lost luggage." The display stopped at 43.0 kilograms. A soft click came from one latch. The motion seal remained unbroken. Arthur crouched. The left latch had opened beneath it. Iris said, "We need the police." Arthur nodded. Then the right latch clicked. The suitcase opened 1 inch. Cold air escaped through the gap. Not warehouse air. It smelled like rain, wet pavement, and something electrical, like the air after lightning. Arthur reached for the lid. Iris caught his wrist. "You just warned me not to touch it. We need to know what's inside." That is exactly what everyone who disappeared probably said. Arthur looked at the open gap. Something pale rested just beneath the lid. Paper. Not clothing. He put on evidence gloves, then raised the suitcase carefully. Inside were luggage tags, dozens of them. Old airline tags, train baggage slips, hotel claim tickets, handwritten paper labels tied with string. Nothing else. No lining, no hidden compartment. Just tags? Iris lifted the first one. Martin Cole. Destination, Ashbury Property Warehouse. Departure, November 14th, 2015, the day he disappeared. Arthur selected another. Helen Ward. She had managed municipal evidence in 1997. Her disappearance had never been solved. Another tag. Officer Ben Carter. Arthur knew the name from the Ashbury police station case. The rookie who entered the evidence room and never came back. Iris spread the tags across the table. Each belonged to someone who had vanished. Maya Brooks. Owen Hale. Laura Hayes. Elias Mercer. Some Arthur recognized. Others he didn't. One tag carried no name. Only a departure field. Tomorrow, 10:13 p.m. Iris picked it up by the string. The paper looked blank. Then faint letters began forming. Slowly, like an image appearing in developer fluid. ART Arthur stepped away. The name continued. Arthur Bell. Iris dropped it. The tag landed on the floor. The ink kept developing. Destination, District B. Arthur closed the suitcase. Both latches locked immediately. The motion seal remained unbroken. Neither spoke for several seconds. Then Iris said, "We removed it from the building." Arthur shook his head. "No, it just printed your name. That's why it stays here." "Why? Every transfer record ends with someone disappearing. And leaving it here is safer?" Arthur looked at the tag spread across the table. "I don't know." That evening, Iris ordered the warehouse sealed. No one entered or left without signing a log. 2 officers guarded the main doors. Arthur remained in the security office, watching shelf 43 across 4 camera angles. At 8:30, the suitcase sat exactly where they had returned it. At 9 o'clock, the same. At 9:46, Iris entered with coffee. You should go home? Arthur kept watching the monitors. My name is inside it? That doesn't make staying beside it sensible. You're still here. I don't have a name tag. Yet, Iris placed the coffee beside him. On camera 3, the suitcase appeared on shelf 43. On camera 4, filmed from the opposite aisle, the shelf was empty. Arthur leaned forward. Look. Iris compared the feeds. Same aisle, same timestamp. One camera showed the suitcase, the other did not. Arthur switched to the live warehouse view through the office window. Shelf 43 was empty. He stood. The office door was still locked. A soft scrape came from behind them. The suitcase sat beneath the security monitors. Neither had heard it arrive. Iris drew her service weapon. Arthur said, "Don't. I'm not shooting luggage." Then what are you doing? Trying to feel less ridiculous. A new baggage label had appeared around the handle. A modern airline tag. Flight AB-214. Origin, Hawthorne Plaza. Destination, Ashbury Municipal Property Warehouse. Arrival, tomorrow. Iris photographed it. The image on her phone showed no suitcase. Only an empty floor. She tried again. Empty. Arthur looked at the monitors. Every feed now showed a different location. The Bellwether Hotel lobby. The hidden basement beneath Ashbury Police Station. The roadside phone booth on County Road 6. The security office at Hawthorne Plaza. Each location was empty. Each contained the same suitcase. Then all 4 timestamps changed. 10:12 p.m. Arthur checked the wall clock. 10:12. The suitcase latches clicked. Iris aimed her flashlight toward it. The lid opened. There were no tags inside now. Only darkness. Not the dark interior of an empty suitcase. Depth. A corridor stretching farther than the suitcase could physically contain. Rows of fluorescent lights disappeared into the distance. Along both sides stood shelves. Thousands of suitcases. Arthur leaned closer despite himself. Each had a label. Names. Dates. Destinations. He saw shelf 43 deep inside. The same shelf they'd been standing beside all day. On it sat another version of the suitcase. Open. Inside that suitcase was another corridor. Iris whispered, "Close it." Arthur reached for the lid. The telephone began ringing somewhere inside the impossible corridor. Recorded from above. The timestamp read, "Tomorrow, 10:13 p.m." On screen, Arthur reached inside. In the real office, he had not moved. Iris saw it too. Step away. Tomorrow's Arthur lifted a luggage tag from the darkness. The real Arthur kept both hands at his sides. On screen, the tag read, Iris Bennett. Iris stared. The blank tag on the office floor began developing again. Her name appeared beside Arthur's. The wall clock changed. 10:13. Every warehouse light went out. The emergency lights activated. Red. Dim. The suitcase remained open. From somewhere inside came the sound of wheels rolling across tile. Closer. Closer. A suitcase moved through the impossible corridor toward the opening. Not carried, not pulled. Rolling by itself. It stopped just beneath the lid. A hand emerged from the darkness. Human. Pale. Wearing an evidence glove. It held a luggage tag. Arthur stepped backward. The hand placed the tag on the office floor, then withdrew. The suitcase slammed shut. The lights returned. Iris picked up the tag. Passenger, Arthur Bell. Destination, unclaimed. Departure, completed. Arthur was gone. No flash, no sound. Mintu stood beside her. One moment he stood beside her. Okay? Arthur was gone. No flash, no sound. One moment he stood the next. The office contained only his coffee, his chair, and the indentation his shoes had left in the dusty floor. The officers outside heard Iris shout. They entered within seconds. The suitcase was locked. Shelf 43 was empty. Every security camera showed Arthur leaving the warehouse at 6:02 p.m. Hours before his disappearance, his car was gone. His employee records had changed. According to the city, Arthur Bell had retired 3 years earlier. Iris was the only person who remembered speaking to him that night. She ordered the suitcase transferred to police evidence. The transport vehicle arrived at 11:40. When officers opened the warehouse, shelf 43 was no longer empty. The suitcase had returned. A new handwritten card hung beneath it. Do not open. Hold indefinitely. No one remembered writing it. Iris checked the contents one final time without opening the case. She weighed it. 18.4 kilograms. Arthur's original measurement. Then she examined the security archive. One file had appeared overnight. Hawthorne Plaza, camera 14, recorded the previous day. The footage showed the burned maintenance corridor. At 10:13 p.m., the gray-jacketed figure entered carrying the suitcase. The figure placed it beneath the camera, then looked directly into the lens. It raised one finger. Wait. A second person entered the frame. Arthur Bell. He carried a clipboard. He appeared confused. The gray-jacketed figure handed him a luggage tag. Arthur read it, then followed the figure through a doorway that did not exist in the real corridor. The suitcase remained behind. 24 hours later, it appeared inside the Ashbury warehouse. No one delivered it. No vehicle entered. No camera recorded its arrival. Arthur Bell remains missing. Iris Bennett resigned from municipal auditing 2 weeks later. Before leaving, she copied every known suitcase record. The earliest was not from 1983. Inside a District B file, she found a photograph dated 1954. It showed shelf 43 inside a warehouse that had not yet been built. The suitcase sat beneath the same flickering light. Beside it stood a man holding a clipboard. Arthur. He looked directly toward the photographer. A luggage tag hung from his coat. On the back of the photograph, someone had written, "Everything belongs somewhere." The suitcase remains in storage. Its weight changes daily. New travel stickers continue appearing across its surface. Some belong to airlines that no longer exist. Others list flights that have not yet departed. One appeared last week. Origin: Ashbury. Destination: Black Pine Lookout. Passenger count: 7. And tied beneath the handle was one blank luggage tag. The ink had already begun to develop. If you enjoy mysteries where ordinary objects carry evidence from impossible places, subscribe to 10-Minute Mysteries. Then watch the previous story. The last security camera footage was recorded tomorrow. Because investigators reviewed every camera inside the property warehouse, none recorded the suitcase arriving. But one recovered file from Hawthorne Plaza showed it already waiting beneath camera 14, 24 hours before Arthur ever opened it. The cameras may not have been recording tomorrow. They may have been documenting where the suitcase would deliver its next passenger.